Africa is often imagined in simple terms: deserts, wildlife, wide open land. It feels familiar, even to people who've never been there. But once you move beyond the obvious routes, that image starts to break down, because scattered across the continent are places that feel extreme, unfinished, or strangely quiet, yet completely real and fully accessible. And most travelers never expect them, where the land looks unfinished. Standing in the Danakil Depression feels like arriving somewhere mid-construction. The ground changes color, the air smells sharp, heat presses constantly. Here's what feels unsettling. Parts of this place sit below sea level and rank among the hottest on Earth. Yellow sulfur pools bubble, salt stretches endlessly. But there's more. The ground cracks in geometric patterns. Minerals bloom in colors that don't seem natural. Bright orange, deep green, violent yellow. Local workers extract salt by hand. They move slowly, deliberately. Because this isn't a place you wander casually. Every step feels deliberate. At night, the temperature drops, but not enough to feel comfortable, just enough to remind you that day will return. The land here doesn't welcome you, it allows you. And that permission feels temporary, when water becomes dangerous. At first glance, Lake Natron looks calm. Pink water, flat horizon, stillness. Then you get closer. The lake is highly alkaline, hot, harsh to most life. The pH can reach 10.5, almost caustic. Here's the surprise. This hostile place is one of the most important breeding grounds for flamingos on Earth. Millions of them. They arrive in specific seasons. They nest on salt islands that form naturally, islands that predators can't reach. The very thing that makes this place deadly makes it safe. Life here doesn't avoid danger, it uses it. The water's pink color comes from microorganisms. They thrive where nothing else can. Beauty exists, but only under strict conditions. Walk to the shore. The smell hits first, sulfurous, sharp. The ground at the edge crystallizes white. Salt formations build upward. Some look like sculptures. Nothing here happens by accident. And then the environment turns completely empty, where the ocean takes everything back. Along the coast of Namibia, the desert meets the sea without warning. No transition, no buffer. This is the skeleton coast. Fog rolls in suddenly. Wrecks sit half buried in sand. Ships that ran aground decades ago. Some recent, some ancient. Here's what feels wrong. Nothing here feels temporary, yet nothing survives long. The fog is so thick it creates mirages. Sailors mistook sand for water, desert for horizon. The cold Benguela current offshore meets hot desert air. The collision creates constant mist. Visibility drops to nothing. Seal colonies gather despite the harshness. They cover rocks in layers. Thousands of bodies packed together. The coastline isn't dramatic, it's indifferent. You can walk for hours seeing only wreckage, rusted metal, bleached wood, bones of whales that washed ashore. Everything here eventually becomes part of the sand. If you're interested in places that don't soften themselves for visitors, places that most travel videos skip, subscribe. This channel explores destinations that challenge expectations, where the land cuts back. In western Madagascar, the ground rises into sharp limestone formations, spikes, narrow paths, no easy routes. This is Tsingy de Bemaraha. Here's what surprises most people. You don't walk normally here. You balance. You adapt. The limestone towers reach heights of 70 meters. They formed over millions of years. Rainwater carved them slowly, relentlessly. The word Tsingy means where one cannot walk barefoot. It's accurate. The edges are razor sharp. Paths between formations measure centimeters wide. Bridges connect sections. Suspension walkways sway above gaps. Below the spikes, caves network through the rock. Rivers run underground. Hidden ecosystems exist in darkness. Lemurs live here. They leap between impossible gaps. They've adapted completely. The land isn't decorative, it's defensive. Movement becomes intentional. One wrong step matters. When the desert draws shapes. From the air, the Sahara suddenly forms a perfect circle. No crater walls, no clear origin. This is the Richet structure, often called the Eye of the Sahara. Here's what feels strange. It looks designed. It isn't. The formation stretches 40 kilometers across. Concentric rings alternate between different rock types. Scientists debated its origin for decades. Impact crater? No evidence. Volcanic dome? The rocks don't match. Most likely, erosion of a geological dome. The soft rocks wore away faster. Hard rocks remained as ridges. Simple geology, extraordinary result. On the ground, it feels empty. From above, it feels precise. That contradiction is what unsettles people. Astronauts use it as a landmark. It's one of the few Earth features visible from space that looks artificial, but it's entirely natural, where scale doesn't feel real. In South Africa, the land opens suddenly. The river curves, the walls drop away, everything expands. This is the Blyde River Canyon. Here's what surprises visitors. It's one of the largest canyons on Earth, yet it feels quiet. No overwhelming crowds, no forced viewpoints. The canyon plunges 800 meters deep. It stretches 26 kilometers long, covered entirely in subtropical vegetation. That's the difference. Most great canyons feel barren. This one feels alive. Waterfalls drop from cliff edges. Trees cling to impossible angles. The river below winds green and constant. The three rendezvous rise like towers, round peaks, covered in growth. They dominate the southern end. The scale doesn't announce itself. You notice it slowly. First, you see the view. Then you realize how far it extends. Then you understand you're seeing only part of it, where mountains burn without fire. In central Ethiopia, the Simien Mountains rise in layers. Sharp peaks, deep valleys, vertical drops that disappear into mist. Here's what feels impossible. The plateau sits above 4,000 meters, yet it's home to unique species found nowhere else. Gelada baboons gather in hundreds. They graze on grass like herbivores. Chest patches glow red in sunlight. Walia ibex cling to cliff faces. They move across near vertical rock, casually. Ethiopian wolves hunt at dawn. The rarest canids on Earth. Fewer than 500 remain. The landscape itself formed from volcanic rock. Millions of years of erosion carved pinnacles, shaped towers, created spaces that feel designed. The mountains don't burn. But at sunset, the rock glows orange, then red, then purple. The light transforms everything. And when clouds sink below the plateau, you stand above them, looking down at weather, where water defies gravity. In Zambia and Zimbabwe, the Zambezi River reaches an edge, then falls. Victoria Falls drops 108 meters, stretches 1,708 meters wide. The local name is Mosi Oatunya, the smoke that thunders. Here's why. The spray rises 400 meters into the air. You see it from 50 kilometers away, a column of mist that never stops. At peak flow, 500 million liters fall per minute. The sound is constant, overwhelming. It drowns out conversation. The mist soaks everything, creates rainbows that appear and vanish. Multiple rainbows, layered. During full moon, a lunar rainbow appears. Pale, ghostly, rare. Stand at the edge. The ground vibrates. The air moves constantly. This isn't a waterfall you observe quietly. It announces itself from every direction. Why these places feel unexpected? Most of these places aren't hidden. They're accessible. They're mapped. They're real. They just don't fit the simple image people have of Africa. They're too sharp, too extreme, too quiet. Africa doesn't present one landscape. It presents many without explanation. No apology, no simplification. The continent contains boiling ground and frozen peaks, caustic lakes and lush canyons, empty deserts and dense forests. These extremes exist side by side, sometimes within kilometers of each other. The diversity isn't accidental. It's geological, climatic, ancient. And most travelers never move beyond the expected routes to find it. Africa isn't a single experience. It's boiling ground, caustic lakes, empty coastlines, stone that resists movement, vast spaces that stay quiet, mountains that glow, water that thunders. These places don't exist to impress. They exist because the land allows them to. They weren't created for visitors. They were discovered by them. The difference matters. Because these landscapes don't adapt, you do. They don't explain themselves, you learn them. If this video changed how you think about Africa, subscribe. Because some of the most unforgettable places to visit aren't famous. They're simply unexpected. And there are dozens more waiting.